Chronic illness is a puzzle, except we don't know where the puzzle pieces are and we don't know if they're gonna fit. Sometimes when I'm in those low moments, it feels like I haven't made any progress, when really if I take a step back and I look at the whole picture, I can see that I actually have. And it's very hard to understand what it's like to live in pain all the time if you don't live in pain all the time. Hello my friends, welcome here. Aimee Esther here. I live with multiple chronic illnesses. I am 30 years old and today I wanted to share with you 20 lessons that I learned from living chronically ill in my 20s. I was chronically ill for most of my 20s. I started getting really sick about 21 and it's still here. I have POTS, EDS, Lyme disease, gut issues, migraines. I also had endometriosis and PCOS, just like everything's kind of a little messed up in my body. So I have had a lot of experience with chronic illness, and I wanted to share some of the things that I have learned through this journey with you today. If you want to learn more from me and you want to talk directly to me, come join my online community. It's only $9 a month. We do live calls multiple times a week where we dive into these topics and we deal with that mental side of chronic illness and we combat the loneliness and the frustrations that come with chronic illness. So that is linked below, but let's jump into the things that I have learned. The first thing that I have learned on this journey is that I am in charge of my health. When I first started this, I was so unsure about what was going on. It was a foreign world to me. And so I would show up to a doctor and I would expect them to fix me, and I would expect that they would tell me what to do, and I would expect that it would go away. And that did not happen. But what I learned is that I had to be my own advocate. That was the only way for me to get the care that I needed. And as a recovering people pleaser and someone who was not very assertive and would not stand up for myself, I have had to learn that that is the way to get the care that I need. I need to stand up for myself, and on times where I couldn't do it on my own, I would bring my husband or someone else with me that I knew could stand up for me. Another thing that I've learned is that I don't have to take it all. And by this, I mean I don't have to go to one doctor or one specialist and do everything that they say and follow them exactly. I have learned that I have to take this thing from my medical doctors, and this thing's from my chiropractor, and this thing from my holistic doctor, and this thing from that internet video I saw, and this thing that I've learned on my own. And that is how I've created the best life for me, and I felt the healthiest is when I take bits and pieces and I'm creating my own puzzle. Because here's the thing, chronic illness is a puzzle, except we don't know where the puzzle pieces are and we don't know if they're gonna fit. So I would go to a doctor, they would give me a puzzle piece, they'd give me a diet to try or a medication or something. I would then take it home and see if it fits in my health puzzle. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but the truth is nobody has your full puzzle for you. Nobody has the full answer as to what's going on with your health most of the time. There, of course, are exceptions, but in my experience, I had to take a little bit of what I learned here and there and create my own puzzle. And right now, there are still holes in my puzzle. I don't have everything figured out, but I'm slowly learning more and more about my own health. The next thing I have learned is actually a sign that is on my chiropractor's wall, and it is something that has really stuck with me recently, and that is healing is not linear. And this statement has rang so true for me because in my experience, when I was growing up, I would have a pain, I would have a sickness, and then it would slowly get better and it would be gone. It would be linear, a line. It would slowly get better until I finally was all better. And with now my experience with this chronic illness, multiple chronic illnesses, it isn't just I am this sick one day and then I'm a little better and I'm a little better. It goes up and down. And sometimes I think I have made huge progress and then it comes crashing down again and I'm struggling again and I have a big flare up. And what I have learned is that my healing is trending upward, but it's not a straight line. It has hills and valleys, and it's going up and down. And sometimes when I'm in those low moments, it feels like I haven't made any progress, when really, if I take a step back and I look at the whole picture of my past 10 years being sick, I can see that I actually have had progress and I am continuing to get better. The next thing that I have learned is that boundaries are essential. As I mentioned, I am a recovering people pleaser, and it's hard for me to set boundaries. It's hard for me to stand up for myself, and it's something that I have gotten so much better at because of this illness, because I've had to set boundaries. I have had to learn to say no. Because if I don't, then I would push myself to doing things that my body couldn't handle, and I would become so sick after, and I'm the one paying for it. And here's what I've learned, that when I say no, I actually show up better when I say yes. If I say no to the things I know my body can't handle or my brain can't handle, that I can't handle, then when I say yes to someone, it's because I truly mean it, because I truly care and I truly want to do it. And then I show up as a better wife, mother, friend, daughter. I show up better for these people. Speaking of people, something I've learned is that people will not understand. And this is something that I coach on a ton in my online community and with my private coaching clients, because we want people to understand, we want people to be empathetic, we want them to care. And the truth is, even when people are loving and kind and caring, they will not understand what it's like for you to live chronically ill. And it's very hard to understand what it's like to live in pain all the time if you don't live in pain all the time. I also had a very interesting coaching call with someone in my community recently whose family also lives with the same medical condition that they have. And yet, this person's family still did not understand. And it's a reminder that not only do people not understand what it's like to live chronically ill if they've never lived that way, but also we're all going through our own things. We're all figuring out our own journey and what's best for us. And people who live ill still might not understand. Isn't that crazy? But it's true. And it's something that I have made huge progress on in my own life, and something that I am continuing to learn and figure out is how to approach people when they don't understand, and how to give them empathy and kindness when they're not understanding, when they don't show up in the way that I think they should. Because here's the thing. No one else is me. They don't have my brain, they don't have my personality, and they definitely don't have my pain. And when I realize that, I am so much happier. Another thing that I have learned is that doctors do not need to be empathetic. I know this is one that people do not like to hear, but stay with me. We want them to be, of course. And ideally, everyone's empathetic and understanding and loving, but we don't live in that kind of a world. We are imperfect people, like I mentioned. So what I have come to embrace and has helped me find a lot of peace with my doctors is realizing that they are the ones who are here to think logically, and I'm the one to be emotional. Okay? So when I show up to an appointment and I am emotional and I'm struggling, I'm like, I can't deal with this, I'm having all these pains, and they say, well, all of your tests came back normal. Good news, everything's good. I would get offended by that. I'd be like, well, they don't believe me. No, they're looking at things logically. Logically, the tests are showing these numbers, which is, quote, normal. They are not the ones showing up with the emotion. So coming back to number one, you're in charge of your own health. You are your own advocate. It's important for you to remember that there is actually benefit to a doctor being very logical. We don't want a really emotional surgeon. If I was a surgeon, I would be horrible because I get too emotional and I would be so sad and I'd be thinking about how I'm hurting this person. No, we want someone who's very logical, who can just do the work. We want someone who's a doctor who can do the work, who doesn't get too obsessed and emotional about his patients that he can't actually care for them, right? So when I remember that, then when I don't get the things that I need and my doctor says, great news, you're all good, then I can stop and say, oh, well, actually I'm not. And I bring the emotional side of, no, this is what my day-to-day life is like, so I'm actually not normal. I know the testing is showing that, but we need to keep looking. We need to keep working on this. And when I remember that, I'm able to have much better conversations with my doctor. The next thing I have learned is that comparison steals happiness. Something about me is that I do not do well on social media. I know I'm posting a video here on social media. I prefer YouTube, long videos, podcasts. That's what I consume. But if you follow me on Instagram, you may notice that I am not active on there. And every once in a while I'll jump on and I'll try it again, and then I just don't feel good. And my reasoning is because when I get on Instagram and I start scrolling and I see what my friends are doing and I see what strangers are doing, then I feel bad about myself because I'm not doing those things. I'm comparing my life to someone who's not ill. And let's be honest, comparing your life to someone who is ill or someone who, a non-ill person to a non-ill person still steals your happiness. But even more so when you're comparing an ill person's life to a non-ill person's life, they're living completely different lives. And I'm no longer grateful for the things that I do have. I'm no longer noticing the wins that I've had. I am looking at the things that I don't have because I'm comparing my life to someone else's. So, stop the comparison game. If that means you have certain friends that are hard for you to talk to, maybe we need to ease back on those relationships because it's causing us a lot of emotional, mental strain. Maybe you're like me and you get on Instagram and TikTok and whatever, and that brings you that stress. Then maybe we need to get rid of that or take breaks from it. Because for me, it's really hard not to compare when I'm on those apps, when I'm doing those things. I do a lot better when I'm talking to people in person. I can empathize more with them. I can see that they are also in pain, which leads me to the next one, which is everyone has pain. And this is really hard to see when you're on social media, when you're just talking to someone and catching up and they're only telling you the highlights. It's really hard to see that everyone has pain. Now, you may think, but no one has the pain I do. You forget that people have emotional pain. I am yet to meet someone who does not have problems in their life. And every single time that I truly get to know someone, I find out that they have pain, emotional or physical pain. And it comes back to that comparison game. When we're comparing someone's highlights to our hard days, it's not going to match up. But the truth is, they are also having hard days. We just don't see them. We see people's highlights. When I go to church, I see everyone dressed in their nice dresses and their ties, and everybody looks nice and they're put together and they're showered. And what I'm not seeing is the mess that they have at home, or what I'm not seeing is the stress that they have with their family, or the stress that they have with their job or their finances, or the physical pain that they have. When I show up to church, I'm wearing my best dress. I put on makeup. I do my hair. And even though I spend the rest of the day in bed because I'm exhausted from taking 2 hours to sit through a meeting, nobody is seeing that part of it. So when people see me out in public, they don't think that I'm sick. They don't see that. But inside, there's pain. So reminding myself that everyone has pain helps me to not play the victim, to not get into that deep mindset of my life is harder than everyone else's, because the truth is we don't know. We don't know how hard anyone else's life is. Another thing that I've learned is that pain and joy can coexist. Did you know that you can feel pain and be happy at the same time? This is something that I just thought was not possible for the longest time. I remember when I was first sick that I had this mindset that once I get better, then blank. Once I get better, then I can work again and feel productive. Once I get better, I can have kids and then I'll feel fulfilled. Once I get better, I will be able to go to the gym and then I'll be able to work towards something. Once I get better, I'll be happy. That's what I thought. And this journey has taught me that I can actually find that where I am. And if I wasn't sick, as hard as it is for me to believe, I would still have pain somewhere in my life, and I would still have struggles, and I would still complain. Because guess what? I wasn't born sick. I mean, I did have a condition that I've had since I was a kid, but I wasn't born as sick as I have been the last 10 years. My teenage and my childhood, I wasn't this sick, and yet I still complained. I still struggled. I have friends who are not sick and they complain, they struggle. So remind yourself that it is possible, even if you're not there yet, just knowing that there's a possibility that one day I will find joy while I am in pain will give you a little bit of hope. I used to think that in order to live a happy life, I just needed to be happy all the time. And the truth is, I want to feel sad sometimes. I want to feel angry sometimes. I want to feel frustrated sometimes and jealous and all of those things. Because the truth is, if I don't feel those things, I don't even know what happiness is, right? And I have learned to embrace the negative emotions. I'm using quotes because my therapist says I should call them uncomfortable emotions. So let's maybe change that. I have learned to embrace those uncomfortable emotions, and realizing that they're not negative, but they're just uncomfortable has helped me to not fight them so much and not push them down so much, and to feel them. And I find that when I allow myself to feel all of those things, they don't last as long. And the truth is, I'm happier more. And overall, I live such a better life. Another thing that I've learned is that small wins are still wins. I want to accomplish big things, and I know you do too. And it feels good on those days where I'm feeling less pain and I'm able to deep clean the house, or I'm able to get this big project done, or whatever. That does feel so good. And the truth is, when I am at a level 8 pain and I do the dishes and that's all I get done for the whole day, versus I'm at a level 2 pain and I clean my whole house, I have accomplished more on that level 8 day than on the level 2 day because of how difficult it was. And that actually is amazing. I can do so much with pain. That's another thing that I've learned, is that I can still accomplish amazing things with pain. And I've realized lately how much I can do with pain. I've had some improvements in my health lately, but it is not gone and I'm still in a lot of pain. And what I've realized is that if this was my baseline from the beginning, I would just constantly complain about it. I would want it gone immediately. I wouldn't be able to do anything. And because my baseline is just lifted a little bit, and I learned to do so much at a lower baseline, I'm amazed at the things that I can do because I have become stronger, which is another thing that I have learned, is that being sick makes you stronger. And it sounds backwards, especially if you live with chronic fatigue and you're like, no, I'm so weak. My friend, that's what makes you so strong, is that you can do these, quote, small wins or big wins when you are in a lot of pain and when you're really fatigued. And that takes more strength than someone who is perfectly healthy doing some big project. Your life doesn't have to fit the mold. When I first got sick, I had a plan. I was finishing school to become a teacher, and I had a plan that I was going to teach until my husband was done with school, and then we'd have kids, and I'd stay home with my kids, and once they were in school, I would go back to teaching, and I would work part-time through all of it, and I just had this plan of how things would go. And it has not gone that way. I didn't even get 1 year of teaching in before I was too sick that I had to quit. I was able to have kids, miracle, blessing, but I have not been the mom that I thought I would be. I am not doing the things I would thought that I thought I would do as a mom. I thought I would be like my friends who are taking their kids to the park and they're in the classes with them and they're active and their kids are outside a lot and there's all these fun active things that they're doing. And instead, we stay home a lot. And instead, we read a lot of books. And what's interesting is I've seen how that's been a huge blessing. I have actually been able to teach my kids. They have learned to read at 4 years old. They have been so independent when it comes to games. They have been so creative because we stay home a lot. They're creative because I don't like to buy a lot of toys because I don't have the energy to clean them up. So they're creative with what they use. They use the couch cushions to build stuff. And there's so many cool things that have happened because I'm not able to take my kids out a lot. It's crazy that so much good has come from it. I have a different way of doing things. And that goes for everything, with jobs that I've had, with creating anything in my life that I thought I knew how I was going to do it. And I'm going to have to do it a different way. And another thing I've learned is that chronic illness makes you creative. It's so fun to see in my chronic illness community how many creative people are in there. And some of them natural born talent for sure. This picture right here I bought from someone in my community. What a time to be alive is what it says. It's beautiful. I will link it down below. She's amazing. But some of them, natural born talent. But I think that chronic illness has given a lot of people with chronic illness a better chance to practice creativity because we have to get creative. We have to try new things. We have to change and adapt. It makes you so good at adapting. It makes you so good at change. It makes you so good at so many things. And another thing that I've learned is that the future is unpredictable. And now I say that and you're probably feeling a little scared and like, yeah, I don't know because I didn't think I'd be sick, then all of a sudden I was, and so I'm fearful of what could happen next and the pain that could come or whatever. But what I mean is both. Not only is the future unpredictable for negative things that could happen, but also for positive. The future is unpredictable, and that's amazing. And it is scary. And part of it is scary and can bring some fear, but a part of it is exciting because even though, yes, it's unpredictable in that I could get worse, it's unpredictable in that I could get better. It's unpredictable in that I look back to the last 10 years and I can see what a change has come in my life and how much better of a person I am and how much stronger I am because of the trials that I've had. And I think, what am I going to look back in 10 years and see? What changes am I going to see then? Because I still have a lot to work on, let's be honest. But in 10 years, I'm going to be able to look back and see all the changes that I've made. Another thing that I've learned that is hard for me to admit as someone who would rather be giving it to other people, and it's hard to talk about myself in this way, but I deserve love and care, and that's true. And I deserve peace. I deserve less pain. I know this may sound crazy to some people, but some of you will totally relate to this. But I have struggled with anxiety, and especially anxiety of bad things happen to me. And of course this would happen because of me. And even I've had struggles where something hard happens to my kids. It sounds crazy, but my anxiety tells me, I know logically it doesn't make sense, anxiety tells me that it's my fault because I have bad things happen and I'm unlucky and I have these horrible things happen, so of course my kids would have something hard happen. And that's an anxiety that I've really struggled with. But even though I still struggle with it sometimes, and sometimes it gets triggered and whatever, I know, and I've learned, and I'm continuing to learn, that I do deserve peace and I deserve love and I deserve good things to happen to me. And when I believe that, I start to see that that's actually true, that good things do happen to me. And it's not always hard and always bad. And even though sometimes my anxiety doesn't want me to know that, the truth is I do deserve to have good things. And that's something I have really come to learn in the past few years. I've also learned that people want to help. Not everyone, of course. There are some truly evil people in the world, but most people want to help others. Most people actually prefer when I ask for something. I do not like asking for help. I feel uncomfortable asking for help. I want to do it myself so bad. And I want to be the one to help other people. I want to be the one to show up with dinner at someone's doorstep. And yet, sometimes I have to ask for help or accept help if someone's offering it. At the beginning, someone would offer something, I would say no. Say, no, we're fine. I don't need it, even though I really did. And something that I've learned about this is that I can always pay it forward. If someone helps me out financially or physically, I may not be able to one-to-one give back to them. If they give me $100, I may not be able to give back to them $100, right? If they clean my house for 2 hours, I may not be able to clean their house for 2 hours. But I can still give back in my own ways. Because there are things that I've learned from my chronic illness journey that have helped me to help other people. I can be more empathetic when someone is struggling. I may not be able to make someone a homemade meal, but maybe I can drop a pizza off at their house if they're struggling, right? I've learned things that help me to help people. And I'm better at helping others when I allow other people to help me. All right, we have a few more here. The next one is that rest can be productive. I still do not love resting. I want to be doing stuff. I want to be active. I want to be moving. But sometimes I get a whole lot more done when I take time to rest. I've also learned not to always listen to my body. I think that's something that we're told, just listen to your body. Because sometimes my body's in pain and it says, Aimee, rest, don't move. And I need to challenge it and just test it. Hey, what if I get up and I start cleaning up the kitchen for 2 minutes, and then if I still feel bad, then I'll lay back down. Sometimes I have to challenge that, and that's something I've had to learn to do, is not always to listen to what my body needs, because it doesn't always tell me, because I'm in pain. It can be confusing to know if it actually needs to move or it needs to lay down. And so, although I find that rest can be productive, I don't always rest when my body's in pain. However, when I'm resting, I am fully resting. And I'm enjoying that time instead of trying to think of all the things that I could be doing. Laughter. Laughter helps. I find that when I laugh about my illness and I make fun of it, it actually makes me feel better. Sometimes I laugh at my brain. I'm like, isn't it so funny that I was having a mental breakdown yesterday and now I'm just fine? Sometimes I just have to laugh about the situation and it brings a little peace. If I can't laugh about my situation, laughing about something else, like watching a funny movie or talking to someone who makes me laugh. It's interesting that when I am laughing or I'm in a good mood, I can deal with the physical pain better, even if my pain doesn't change. And one thing I have learned is that for me, mental pain is harder than physical pain. It is harder for me to have an anxiety attack, to be depressed, than it is to have a physical flare-up day. And the truth is, those often will go hand in hand. When I'm in more physical pain, my mental health is often not quite as joyful. It is more down. It is harder for me to be in a good mood when I am in physical pain. That is just how our brains work. They're trying to protect us. They're trying to get us out of pain, but it makes it really, really difficult. However, what I've learned is when I focus on healing my mental health, prioritizing my mental health, I can deal with the physical symptoms better. Now, I still focus on my physical health sometimes, and sometimes you're in so much pain that you don't have a choice other than to deal with the physical pain. But when I do feel like I have a choice, I prioritize my mental health first. And that's why I started my community. I have an online community for people who live chronically ill, and it's focused on the mental side of chronic illness and dealing with that and coping with this difficult challenge. And that's been my focus of the past few years, is how do we cope with chronic illness? How do we deal with this mental side? The last thing I wanted to mention is, make sure I got all of them. Yes, we're on the last one. Is that you matter. Is that you still have worth. I still have worth even if I sit on my butt all day and watch TV because I'm in so much pain. I still matter. And there were days where I didn't know if I did, and I didn't know why I was here, and what is my purpose in life if I'm so sick that I can't do anything. But the truth is, I can do more than I think I can. I just get in those mindsets sometimes, still to this day. I have times where I wonder why I'm given this pain, why this is so unfair that we even have pain in this life, and why I'm even here if I'm going to be in pain all the time. I still wonder that sometimes, but overall, I know that you and that I have worth and we matter and we can do amazing things even when we're in pain. All right, my friends, there are 20 of the things that I have learned with being chronically ill through the last 10 years of my life. So let me know in the comments if there's anything you have learned that wasn't mentioned here. Let me know if anything stuck out to you that you enjoyed. And as always, my community is open and welcome to you. So come join. The link's down below. It's only $9 a month. You can cancel anytime. Come try it out. See if it's right for you. And I hope you're in less pain tomorrow than you were today. I will see you in my next video. Bye, my friends.